We have with us today Dr. Chandan Mitra, editor and managing director of The Pioneer. He's also a member of the Rajya Sabha. Do you see any contradiction in espousing a particular political position and journalism?
It is really difficult to walk an absolutely watertight line of division.
Say for what happens, for example, if you get a story which is negative to your party?
We do not censor any story. But yes, there is a judgment exercised as to how much it is to be played up and what particular angle is to be given.
Like Hindustan Times put Abhishek Singhvi's story of the CD on page 11 in a tiny little column.
Right.
Whereas every other paper had it on the front pages.
We wouldn't go to that extreme when it comes to something negative about BJP. But yes, I mean, I would say that when either somebody has an exclusive story against the BJP, that is okay. I mean, they will play it up. But if it is in the public domain already, we definitely keep it on page one, like Bangaru Lakshman, for instance. Bangaru Lakshman was very prominently displayed on page one, and we editorially commented and criticized what Bangaru Lakshman had done. But okay, other papers took it as the lead, and television ran it endlessly. Maybe we will not do that much, but we carried it on page one.
The Tehelka sting. Did you approve of the Tehelka sting operation?
The Tehelka sting operation, you see, that brings to me to the whole issue of stings. Tehelka, I'm afraid, yes, we carried the news, but we were very critical. We criticized Tehelka in our editorial policy. There were several articles which we published on our editorial and op-ed pages criticizing. I personally criticized it on television and in my writings. And the reason for the criticism was actually, I think it is a matter of principle. I believe that sting on events and activities that are actually happening is legitimate. But when you allure or entrap people
and create a fictitious
situation, and you make the basest come out in a person, whether it's Bangaru Lakshman's greed or in the case of certain Mumbai Bollywood actors, kind of throwing women at them.
But Chandan, wouldn't it be very difficult to catch something like arms dealing and corruption in parties and all that? As it's happening, people are very cautious. So in this situation, one would have to create a fictitious sort of thing.
I don't approve of anyway kind of, it is not a television thing that where you reconstruct a crime. Even on television, when they do these crime serials, they reconstruct crimes that have actually and originally happened. But here you are creating a fictitious situation. We all know there is corruption in defense deal. What was Bofors all about? And you haven't got to the bottom of it. And maybe a sting sometimes can help you get to the bottom of it, provided there was a deal in the first place. Here there is a fictitious product.
But isn't that worse, that they're willing to take money for a fictitious product from a fictitious arms dealer and actually send the contract for approval? People were taking money left, right and center.
Obviously, I don't approve of that. But you must remember that politicians sometimes act in a, I would say, absolutely despicable manner. Whether it's taking money for a fictitious product from a fictitious company, or when it comes to demanding or getting cash for asking a question in Parliament. But I don't think, and these are public knowledge. It's in the public domain that these things happen. If you catch somebody actually doing it red-handed, as you did in the case of those MPs who were later expelled from Parliament.
Also, like say for doctors, they did a sting operation on doctors who were asked for fictitious certificates. There are any number of stings which are for the public good. What is wrong with that?
No, I don't think that in this particular case, exposing one Bangaru Lakshman, who would have never had any role in, even if that deal was not fictitious, was, I think, somewhat motivated one, definitely. That's why I have objections.
But do you think that if it was the Congress party in power, these journalists would have done anything different?
I'm not sure. I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think they were so hungry for the story, they couldn't care less who they were snaring.
I won't entirely agree with you, although I don't have evidence to suggest that this was done at the behest of any other political party. But
which is why Anirudh, when he did the cash for questions, he took stings. He did stings on all the parties to make sure that he wasn't accused of motivation against one party.
Interestingly, the 11 people who were removed, none of them were congressmen.
No, but he did stings on Congress
But
people.
those were never shown.
They were shown. No. They were
not
shown.
on Congress.
Chandan, as you say. They were shown.
Congressmen, no. Nobody got caught. No.
Anirudh, in doing his stings, I can tell you, is not motivated by any political.
Look, I'm not making an allegation. His second sting on cash for votes was as a real life thing that actually happens, and he caught people. I compliment him for that. I have no issue on that particular sting, nor some other stings that he has done. And there are many other television channels which I think have actually done a lot of good, doing stings, catching policemen taking bribes at the border, government officials taking money for pushing files along. These are a great public service.
Looking at your background, you have an interesting bunch of batchmates, Swapan Das Gupta,
Yes.
Paranjoy Guha Thakurta,
Yes.
and Shashi Tharoor.
That's right. Yes, ours was a very distinguished batch from Calcutta. The first three you named are from my school. We are in the same class.
Yeah.
We came here to the same college.
What were they like? Tell us some terrible stories about them.
Terrible. They were very good friends. They were friends. They are friends. And no, we were not exactly a very naughty bunch. You might say that we were a bit of a studious bunch. Shashi, who was in Xavier's, kind of joined us in St. Stephen's College. Yes.
So Shashi seems like an odd friend for you to have. He's so off, British accent, all these girls running after him in college. So
what makes you think that girls never ran after the others?
After you?
I mean, I'm
sure
not saying
I
that.
would never question that, but tell me, did they?
Oh, no, I think I said that on a lighter vein. Shashi was obviously, you see, he had the panache. He was the.
But he's a pretty boy.
Yeah, he's a pretty boy. He had a lot of admirers, but that is okay. I mean, he was a flamboyant kind of person, bit of an extrovert always, but we were friends, and so much so that in the college presidential election, I was his key campaigner. And Swapan was on the other side, on the rival side. Shashi was contesting for the UN Secretary General's post. He told some ME officials that only if he had me as his campaign manager, he wouldn't have lost.
Tell me, is it true that the Pioneer is run on BJP funds?
Oh my God. How many times am I going to be asked? But of late people have stopped asking me all this because they know this is not true. Actually. And it has never been true. Our editorial policy had nothing to do with the party or party funding. In fact, very often I face some wrath from my party people for carrying stories which they don't really like very much. No, party has nothing to do with the BJP. If the BJP were funding it, we would still, even after so many years, we wouldn't be so cash strapped.
You know, when I was accused of contempt of court by the Supreme Court for publishing the report card on High Court judges. And the lawyers used to give your example all the time. They'd say that Chandan Mitra has been hauled up for contempt of court many times. He refuses to apologize. The judges beg him to apologize because they don't want to send him to jail. Ke hangama ho jayega press mein. And he refuses. So there's always this push and pull going on. Tell us some of the cases that you've been called up for contempt.
Well, I've been hauled up for contempt in many cases, but the two most celebrated ones, one was with regard to a comment I made, which I can't repeat because I had to withdraw it under
Write it down, I'll
pressure.
repeat it.
Please, you'll get me in trouble, you'll get yourself in trouble again.
Okay.
But it was a comment on judges of the Supreme Court with regard to the kind of judgments that were passing on Punjab police officials whom I believe were being wrongly castigated for what they carried out.
Under orders.
Under orders, and also the conviction that terrorism had to be stamped out. So they had done that, and I had commented that those policemen should not be harassed in retrospect in this manner. And I used language that perhaps on a sober moment, a sober reflection, I wouldn't have used. They eventually, no, it's not that I did not apologize. I did say that I do regret using that particular language, but my position remains the same. I do feel that the court has not been fair to those policemen. The second case was more interesting. There I published a story in which initials of two persons were used in a front page story in our paper when the Sukhram diaries were disclosed. I had a particular page of the diary which had these two initials, And we carried a story saying the possibility of there being members of the judiciary is not being ruled out. Well, yes, the initials were very clear, but as they say in Hindi, chor ki dadi mein tinka. I don't know why. See, there was so much reaction from the community of judges.
Now, which year was this in?
1997, that's
See,
right.
Chandan, I think that the kind of case that was filed against me for contempt and the two cases that you mentioned, I think if we did that today, it wouldn't happen. I don't think we'd be hauled up for contempt, because so much of corruption has now come out and everyone is being asked to be accountable. I think that lofty position that they had maintained to keep everything quietus, that you're not allowed to ask us anything, you're not allowed to assess anything, you're not allowed to even discuss any possible corruption. I think those days are gone.
Madhu, I think democracy has matured, India has matured, the judges and everybody else now realize that you can't really...
They have no choice because so much corruption has come out.
Yeah, now they actually, you are absolutely right. I think today these things nobody would bother too much. There may be some criticism, but...
So maybe I should now start another report card.
I think you could, you should. Yeah. Because judiciary cannot be above accountability.
Why should they be?
They must not. And
I mean, what are we assessing? We're assessing how senior lawyers see them. And that is a very good assessment. People who see them every day.
Even judges, come on. I mean, there are proven cases. The Nirmal Yadav case, for instance, I wouldn't still call it proven, maybe not, but then everybody knows.
Very cautious.
I have to be, because it was pretty much touch and go the day the judgment on this particular initials case was coming up. And I was let off only because I had a very big battery of lawyers, and the judge presiding on the bench said, only because of Mr. Ram Jethmalani and his assurance of good conduct am I letting you go. I have made up my mind to send you to jail for 7 days, but since he's assured me that you will be on your best behavior, so I'm still being on my best behavior.
Chandan, don't disappoint us. How can you be on your best behavior? That'll be horrible for journalism.
No, I think I have proved my point, and believe me that the contempt of court law, one of the reasons why my friend Arun Jaitley moved for change, he was my lawyer in both these cases.
He loves this. He loves this issue.
You see, and he was very clear that I had committed no crime. In the second case in particular, because there was a huge debate in court with Mr. Jethmalani arguing that belief in truth is even higher than truth. That I published something in the belief that it was true, and I'm standing by that belief. So it cannot be a case of contempt. And Arun was always convinced that how can truth not be a defense in a defamation case?
Yeah.
So the law has now changed. Truth is a defense. You can cite truth as a defense. Whether the court accepts it or not is another matter.
I think it's putting us in a position where where a true democracy should be, where everybody, after all, this is a colonial situation, that you're held in contempt because you question a judge or you question his integrity, or after a judgment is out, and everybody, it's public knowledge the kind of things that happen.
Madhu,
not that there aren't honest judges.
That's true. But let me cite one in my first case when I made some disparaging remarks about judges. It was cited that a British tabloid had published photographs of 3 top judges of this thing because of a judgment paper did not agree with. And in bold, typical tabloid way, said asses! ! And the court said, no, this is not contempt. It is not contempt. But in this country, you try doing that.
Law is an ass, so they read asses.
Yeah, this is asses. So the suo motu contempt notice was sent, case went on, and finally the verdict came, no, not guilty of contempt. So I think we have to grow up.
Now tell me, you've written about this, paid news has ruined credibility of media. When you first started, nothing like this existed. This started in the, 90s?
What?
Paid news.
Paid news,
This also like page 3 areas being sold,
yes.
then main paper copies being
Gradually,
sold, everything is all over. Now it's impact feature, sometimes they write connect in the corner, nobody knows what is an ad, what is copy, it's all mixed up, it's gotten blurred. Media's credibility today is probably the lowest it's ever been.
Let me make a distinction between commercialized news, where for instance you are covering nobody's daughter's marriage with photographs and a lot of fanfare, because he's paid you some money to have it covered in a leading daily and in the very popular supplements. That's one thing. But when you say political paid news, when you say that unless you give me so much money, I will not cover your press conference. Unless you pay me so much money, I will not cover your leader's visit. And they are even willing to tailor the report according to what you want. Sometimes the political party can even, or candidate can send them the report, written up report, and that is reproduced.
If you pay more, they will also ignore the opponent and the competitor.
The third point, that they will black out your opponent. When this happens, I think this is a travesty of democracy and a travesty of the role of the media as the fourth pillar of democracy. So this is serious. And nobody's daughter getting covered or some commercial product, even if ADVT is written so small that you can't read it.
But Chandan, you're in the Rajya Sabha. All this stuff has happened.
Yes.
There's so much has been exposed, especially during election, how space was being sold on television channels, in regional papers, everywhere there was a market, khula dhanda chal raha tha.
Right.
Okay. How come you have not taken a position on it? How come nothing's been done about it?
We have taken a position on it. Rajya Sabha has discussed and debated it. There was a separate discussion on paid news, and I think we'll continue doing it. You see, every time this happens, but then the press council also said they are going to act. Justice J. N. Ray got a report prepared, although the full report was never published. Poranjoy was the person who had actually helped prepare that report.
Yeah, but it was ignored.
It was ignored. Only the annexures were not published because they developed cold feet. There was no smoking gun proof, and that often becomes a problem in these political reports. You don't have, because as I'm telling you, the copy is sent from somewhere else, paper reproduces it, and there is, how do you really prove that it came from this particular source? It's obvious, but no proof that will satisfy the law. That's the problem, and we have to find a way around it. I'm glad the Election Commissioner, Mr. Qureshi, this time took a lot of steps and collected all these clippings suspected of paid news. I hope somewhere we'll be able to find the smoking gun.
But Chandan, I disagree. I don't think the smoking gun is the issue, because just by law going after them and doing whatever action, taking whatever action that it needs to be done is not going to resolve the larger issue. The larger issue is that the largest newspaper in the country, or many others, are selling editorial space where political parties are planting stories against other political parties, the departments against departments, business houses against business houses, even movie reviews are fixed. So until we realize that we are damaging our own USP, which is our credibility, it's not going to work just by going after them legally. So there has to be a total
You're right,
move from
but,
business mindset to journalism. I mean, there are some professions, wouldn't you agree, where money making, you want to make money, but it shouldn't be the priority, such as medicine, legal profession. You do not drag a case on and bleed a client dry. Medical profession, same issue. You cannot do surgery unless it's really required, just for the sake of money. These are very serious issues, and these professions, such as journalism, if you're going to do this and sell space, then we're as bad as and criminal as the lawyer and the doctor who does malpractice.
Yes, absolutely. Would a doctor, for instance, no matter how much money you paid him or her, actually carry out an operation with a motive to kill a patient?
Ooh.
See, but this is what we're doing. We're destroying our credibility.
That's a very strong visual.
Yes, and I think other professionals will not do it. A lawyer will not knowingly lose a case just to fix, maybe the opponent paid him more.
That happens.
That happens, but still no lawyer worth his salt. The regrettable part is, Madhu, that the examples you're giving are happening at the very top of the pyramid, papers with huge sales, papers with huge revenues. Another problem that has arisen in recent years, why this phenomenon has increased, is that many newspapers, the institution of editor has been just erased, abolished, demolished, hanged, quartered, and the owners, whose primary interest is to make money, they've taken over. I'm sorry, many journalists are prepared to serve that interest in exchange for very high salaries and perks, and there's just no check or ethical barrier that is left.
No, it's the business and marketing that's running that paper.
I think there is enough legitimate money to be made. Believe
That's
me.
it.
There is enough legitimate.
Yeah.
But if greed takes over,
That's the problem.
you want to start with a newspaper and eventually become not just a newspaper owner, but appear in the Forbes top 10 list.
And frankly, I don't think it's the money, it's the game.
It's the game, your rival,
I think it's the game. I don't think the greed is more for just the actual money to be spent. They might be leading rather simple lives, in fact. But the whole point is that it's the game, that we want to be number one.
Many billionaires lead simple lives, but they plot the way they plot things is far from simple. But yes, you have a point. I think, but money is also a factor. Because everybody wants to grow, they want to expand, they want to kill competition, they want to slash prices.
It's all part of the game.
Yeah.
You have been declared busiest commentator on news.
Have I?
Yes. You have the highest number of visits on television. And so why don't you, are you thinking of maybe starting a TV channel?
No.
Why not?
Absolutely no. A, I don't have the money. B, I won't borrow. I've made my company debt free after a great struggle. I don't want to get into debts. C, I'm happy being what I am. My core competence is print as an editor. I love appearing on TV and I appear very regularly.
What is the circulation of Pioneer like, if I may ask?
Pioneer circulation, All India circulation, we now have 7 editions. 8th starts on this Sunday on the 6th. With this, our total circulation, without the latest one, is about 2.29 lakhs, All India.
And you own it?
I own it. I'm the majority shareholder. Okay. I mean, more than 50%.
So, where are you going to take it?
Well, I had hoped when I started the journey that someday I will be in the top 10 media houses in the country. Difficult now with so much, just what we were discussing, and we are not in that game. But I think the Pioneer, despite a small circulation, has an impact. This 2G, it has been totally acknowledged everywhere. 2G scam.
No, but Chandan, now that you bring it up, your report, it was the first paper that reported the 2G scam.
Yeah.
But you were just kind of sidelined. It was taken over by Open, Outlook, television, and everybody forgot that it was Pioneer who did it.
I don't think so. You see, we got our journalist, J. Gopi Krishnan, a very, very humble and simple man.
I think he was too humble because he didn't get the kind of play normally
nor
journalists get.
Did we advertise, and anybody else in our position would have probably done it. But you come to the parliamentary debate, each and every speaker was quoting from the Pioneer. The CAG report, believe me, CAG report, after which everybody actually started believing what we had written, was almost a ditto of what we had written.
Yeah, but
200 reports.
But
Gopi,
nobody remembers it was Pioneer except for you and Gopi.
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Gopi got the Ramnath Goenka Award this year. He got the CNN IBN Award last year, Indian of the Year. So I don't think that's true that nobody remembers.
No, but journalists know about it. But the excitement was all with Outlook and.
No, because they published those juicy transcripts, which I did not. We all had transcripts. But
why
no,
didn't you?
I did not believe that it was proper to put out the transcript. Story is not in the salacious nature of it.
Yeah.
And there was nothing that
So you didn't mention Barkha,
no,
and that's why I didn't get the kind of.
Barkha, I did not mention Veer. And
who gave the CD to you?
How can I? A good journalist will never reveal his sources. We fought a big case on this, by the way. Jaitley spoke for 1.5 hours.
Yeah.
Manmohan Sareen was then judge in Delhi High Court.
Okay.
I got an order from the court to reveal source.
And
by the way, Jagmohan filed the case against me.
Oh Lord, what was this? What was the source?
Building problem he had demolished or whatever. But again, court ordered that I must reveal my source. And I remember a classic speech by Arun Jaitley in Delhi High Court, 1.5 hours, saying, no, we won't reveal. Got off again with a censure admonition, saying, let the full bench of Supreme Court decide.
Which never happened.
So since I didn't do it under so much pressure, I won't tell you.
But are you concerned with the motive of the person who plants the story?
Sometimes yes, but then you see, in India, I believe that every story, every leak is a plant. Somebody has an interest in getting the story published.
You have to make sure that you're not used.
Yeah, you have to make sure you're not used. Therefore, usually what we do at Pioneer is not 2G. We have published several major stories or followed up. So very often you see some paper publishes something tucked away somewhere, probably not realizing the implications. And I think it's very correct. And I don't see anything wrong. If another newspaper or TV channel picks it up from there and goes to town. We have done that in a large number of occasions. I don't think you have to be clear that there is really no motive or no business motive or political motive or a personal motive, provided it is in the public interest. What we think is in the public interest, and there is no hard and fast rule saying this is public interest.
But you're okay with being known as a BJP paper?
Well, I think it is unfair. I have tried my level best in terms of its content to ensure that, okay, the editorial page is ours and it will be, except barring exceptions like Bangaru Lakshman and so on, will be probably tilted towards BJP. But I defy people to point out how I am more pro-BJP than certain papers which I shall not name are pro-Congress. I don't think I'm any better or any worse.
Next time we'll have a dossier for you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Madhu.
Thank you.
Great.